10-day Vipassana, what to expect, what to be scared of. Just kidding. A lot of my clients who have started their meditation journey with me have asked me about my 10-day Vipassana experience. For those of you who don't know, it is a silent retreat. I'm here to let you know that it is not something that's that scary. To prepare yourself for those 10 days, what to expect. I hope you find this video helpful. Be sharing my honest experience with you guys, including some of the colorful thoughts that came up during my time there. Is it really 10 days of absolute silence? Yes and no. Speaking, other people will not be speaking. In fact, you won't even be making eye contact. So the idea is self-isolation. The whole purpose of that is so that you become attuned with your inner world. I had a roommate, but we still didn't see each other. There's a wall between us and curtain. We didn't share eye contact at all or speak to each other. And you go to eat in the dining hall, you are assigned a seat. You are to keep your eyes averted. Be meditating around 11 to 12 hours per day. Gong goes off at 4 a.m. Go to the meditation hall at 4:30. Me, I did that one of the days, and then the rest of the days I actually just lied in bed. You don't have to show up to the meditation hall until 6 a.m. That is the mandatory group meditation time. 1.5 hour meditation, and then we would have breakfast. You're allowed to walk outside 3 times a day after breakfast, lunch, and evening snack. We do some lunch, but there is no dinner. There is some fruit and tea if you want. So all the meals are vegetarian or vegan. Never get hungry. I did. So I usually would bring some snacks with me into my room. I'm not sure if that's allowed. It probably isn't. But if they had made muffins or cookies that day, I would usually bring like a couple of those into my room, or an extra banana or apple, because there was no dinner. And I get really snacky, especially when there's not much other stimulation happening. There's a huge sense of metta in Vipassana, which is sense of loving kindness from all of the volunteers there that work basically from morning to night to make sure that all the meditators have everything they need. Our women's manager, probably one of the kindest people I have had the privilege of meeting in my entire life. She made the entire experience unforgettable. How caring she was the only person they're allowed to talk to. They're also there for you if you are having a really hard time with what you're going through. They definitely don't expect you to be completely silent about what you're suffering. They are there to help you through it. Well, aside from your manager, there is also a teacher that you can talk to. And this teacher also kind of summons you up every day in a group of 3 to ask you certain questions about your meditation and how it's going. So any questions or difficulties or struggles or challenges that you're having, you can ask them then. You can also schedule time with them. For me, I think it was on the 2nd day that I did schedule a meeting. I realized the reason why I had chosen to go there was because after being sober for a year and a bit, clean from cocaine for 4 years, I was still struggling with craving. Not necessarily to the drugs and alcohol anymore, just to anything. I could find myself addicted to anything. It could be sweets, it could be junk food, it could be social media. The question that I posed was, always going to be an addict? Is there something wrong with me? And the answer that he gave me, kind of confusing at the time because I was only 2 days in. After the 10 days, it became clear to me what he meant. So his answer to me was, you know, when we crave an ice cream, it's not because we actually crave the ice cream. It's because we crave the feeling that having that ice cream will give us. It wasn't the most satisfactory answer at that moment. After the 10-day course and sitting with myself and my thought, it did become clear. So a lot of people ask me if it is hard not talking and if it was hard to observe noble silence. My answer is hell no. It was so blissful. I'm naturally introverted. I derive a lot of satisfaction and fulfillment from my work. But usually after work, I prefer to not talk to anybody and basically have zero interaction. My social battery is so drained. Getting to go away for 10 days and not talk for 10 days was so awesome. To go to this 10-day course and then not have the pressure of needing to talk to or make small talk with anybody there was such a huge relief. Getting to focus just on what was going on inside me without even having to share that with anyone. Because it was 10 days, you allow it to be a solo experience. There's something sacred in going through all of that pain and all of that introspection alone. That after we broke the 10 days of silence and we were allowed to talk amongst each other, extroverts did say it was really, really hard for them. So I do think it depends on your personality. If you're a naturally introverted person, it probably won't be that hard for you. If you're very extroverted, you might find it to be a bit more difficult. So that it is only 10 days and you can do it. Most uncomfortable things at the beginning was learning how to sit still for such long periods of time. My yoga bolster with me, so when I was doing meditations in my room, I would do a lot of yin yoga. When we're in formal meditation in the meditation hall, not allowed to be in those types of poses or positions. We basically do have to sit upright for the duration of the hour or hour and a half. In the times that you do get to meditate in your room, stretch as much as you can. Learn some basic yin poses that you can do, even if you're just to put your legs up the wall. All of these stretches are going to enable you to sit better when you're in formal meditation. That being said, I fidgeted a lot the first few days, so much so that I was actually called up one day. And the teacher was like, "What's going on with you? Like, you seem like you don't want to be here." I was just in a lot of discomfort. Like, my back hurt, my hips hurt, my knees hurt. Even with all the stretching, you will be in discomfort. Just know that. Part of it, right? It's all part of learning how to be in discomfort and not react. Learning how to sit with the feelings that come up. For the first few days, a lot of it was anger for me. Anger with past experiences, even anger of having to sit in that hall and being judged and watched by this teacher up front. All of that will come and it will also go. That's the beauty of Vipassana. You see how temporary everything is. If it comes back, so leave again. You might also notice that each time it comes back, it's a little bit less intense. 10 days, that was one of the major things that I learned, is how to not take my own emotions or sensations that seriously because of how mercurial and unreliable they were. Boredom and racing thoughts. This is something that comes up a lot with my clients. It's why they wanted to start meditation, coaching on mindfulness, to have some semblance of control, or at least to be able to manage their thoughts. We'll address the racing thoughts. Sitting there for 11 to 12 hours a day is up. Do you eventually find bliss? Answer is yes and no. The thoughts that came up for me were primarily to do with sex. So I found my mind wandering a lot. Sexual fantasies, not like the R-rated version. I would say more like reading spicy novel version. So a lot of the yearning and the lead up and the excitement leading up to a sexual encounter. A lot of this had to do with reliving old sexual encounters, thoughts about having new ones with people I've been coming across in my life. And I think it's really normal to, first of all, judge yourself when you're having these thoughts. Like, why am I having these thoughts? What's wrong with me? I should be meditating. I should be trying to find peace or thinking about things that are more sacred or holy. I don't know. The thing is, sex is sacred, right? Sex is a very normal part of the human experience. The longer that I sat with it, the more I realized that sex was just the tip of the iceberg. It was just another craving that I had let myself develop in order to satisfy something deeper, which was a feeling. Feeling was that excitement, that lead up, that tension when you're not sure what's about to happen, but all this anticipation is built up in your body, all correlated to even my addictions in the past. When I couldn't satisfy my craving with interest or sexual encounter, alcohol also gave me a rush like that. And didn't need anybody to complete that rush. I could just have a drink. And if alcohol got boring, then ecstasy like boost the excitement level by 100. That got boring. Well, cocaine, you didn't even have to wait for the come up. It was instantaneous. Boosted the excitement by 1,000. Realize this was ultimately what I was craving, this sense of anticipation, this sense of buildup. Then I could address, I always feed into this feeling. If this feeling is always what I'm seeking to chase, then it doesn't really matter the substance or the way that I try to fulfill it. Ultimately, I am going to be the mercy of whatever is outside me that I'm using to fulfill this feeling. Having this realization is what was most liberating, what kept me staying. A lot of people have asked, is there ever a time when you thought of leaving? For me personally, that thought never crossed my mind to want to leave. Maybe because I had done something like this before with my 300-hour training. I was a bit more prepared for the discomfort of sitting in meditation for long periods of time, and I was mentally prepared that a lot of shit was going to come up. And I was also very curious to see what was still holding me back from true freedom. Like, I had given up the alcohol, I've given up the drugs. Why did I still feel like things had a hold on me? Like, why was I still running to anxiety as comfort? Was I still seeking comfort in other people? Why did I still feel like I wasn't in control of my life sometimes, or in control of my thoughts sometimes? So I went to Vipassana looking for answers, and I almost knew without a doubt that I was going to find those answers as long as I committed to the 10 days. Franka, the founder of Vipassana, has said himself that Vipassana is like a meditation prison. In some ways, I would say it's like prison light, right? Because you can leave whenever you want. So I don't know if I would really compare it to a prison. I mean, that's pretty extreme. I could see why some people feel like their freedoms are being taken away, because they do take away your phone. You're only allowed to go outside at certain times, come back inside when they ring the bell. You're eating when they tell you to eat, showering when they tell you to shower, sleeping when they tell you to sleep, waking up when they tell you to wake up. So having said that, though, there a lot of freedom in that. You choose to be in each moment is your choice. Like, once you're prepared that it is going to suck at times, your body is going to be sore, it's going to ache, allowing yourself to have a 10-day journey where you're not in full control of your stimulation. Learning how to live life without the need to be constantly stimulated, how nothing is boring if you're paying attention. You could do the same thing every single day, still discover something completely new. You're learning that there is awe and wonder in every mundane thing if you allow yourself to experience that. I would say if you are into it, it's going to make it a lot easier. If you are resisting, make it a lot harder. And ultimately, that's the lesson that Vipassana teaches you about life, to see things as they are and not as you want them to be. Things irritate you and not feel the urge to fix it right away. It even says at one point, no itch is eternal. And I found that so funny, because I sat there wondering at one point, can I move to scratch myself? Pretty much addressed that like that same day. Realize that is true in all aspects of life. Things are going to irritate you, things are going to itch, you're going to want to scratch, and if you don't, you get to witness quickly it goes away without you to do anything about it. After those 10 days, I was definitely a lot more peaceful. things annoyed me less. A lot of it has to do with when you sit there with yourself, a lot of old stories are going to come up, and you're going to be constantly be presented with the choice of judging yourself or of seeing the same thing with a different lens. When you're able to do that for yourself, it's so much easier to see the world that way. We're taught to judge things. We're taught to categorize things in order to make sense of the world. We're taught to be judgmental. A repeated behavior pattern. We take a moment to say, okay, actually, I'm going to choose to not judge this event as good or bad or right or wrong. I'm simply going to look at this, be curious about coming up for me. Like, what do I feel when I'm watching this happen? What do I feel when I'm reliving a memory? And rather than pushing it away, allowing yourself to fully feel memory or that particular experience, then you see that when you meet that experience with not only tension but affection, then it completes the loop and you no longer have to relive it again and again. Is re-entering normal life weird at all? It was great. I had new appreciation for everything, including my freedom to get back to my workout routine and going outside as much as I wanted to. And talking, it felt, because I didn't talk for 10 days, I wasn't so exhausted by talking anymore, but I was also more cognizant of how much energy I put into things now. I need to rush to say something every time a thought pops up into my head. No, I can let that thought sit there and then I can evaluate, is this worth my energy, before I even say anything. So I learned to use my voice in a way that was much more conducive to my well-being. And I learned to not take my own voice for granted. I learned to not take my ability to speak for granted. Realize that our ability to speak is a very unique gift. The gift of language is very unique to humans. Not only right, but our privilege, our responsibility to use this as best as we can to help others, to help ourselves. Make sure that the intention that we speak out into the world is that of loving kindness. We don't use our words or language to ever cause harm, to ever waste our energy, which is a way of causing harm to ourselves. Do I still practice daily? I do meditate daily, but in the form that I enjoy. I do not do formal seated meditations. As much as Goenka says that it's important to keep practicing every morning, every night, this formal seated meditation, it's just not my jam. So I don't do it. But I do meditate every day when I go for a walk. I do meditate when I do my yoga practice and I'm in the shower. I'm much more of a mindfulness practitioner than I am a formal meditation practitioner. Send it to others, and to you if you feel that you are ready to commit to 10 days, if you are ready to accept that there's going to be discomfort, that there's going to be moments you want to quit, but you also know that you have the mental fortitude to get through that. If you're committed to learning what's going on in you that continues your habitual patterns, to learning how to undo your own suffering by confronting your own thoughts. Probably a lot of buried emotions and experiences, because I was thinking about things that I hadn't thought of in years and years and years. Like, I thought these memories were gone, but they came up in meditation, as it would when you're sitting in silence for 12 hours a day. So you also learn, though, that it's not that scary. And if you are able to recognize that your thoughts and emotions are not as scary as you thought, you will be unstoppable. It will be the most powerful thing that you can recognize in yourself. And that is why it's life-changing. Because when you recognize that you don't need to be scared of your thoughts or scared of your mind, then you can befriend your mind and your thoughts. You can use them to help you. You can use them to help you achieve the things that you want to achieve. Your life could look completely different after just 10 days of silence/mental torture. Mental torture light. I answered most of your questions about Vipassana. If you have any more questions, please let me know in the comments or send me a message. Be sure to check out my meditations. If you're new to meditation, this might help you in the door of experiencing something chill and something that's not too formal. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.